If there's somebody that is interested in getting into special education, what kind of advice would you give them?
My gosh, I'd say go for it and maybe reach out to somebody, reach out to a public school district and just say, "Hey, I'm really interested in this. Could I possibly come shadow just to see what it all entails?" Because I feel like one special ed class in a building is not the same as one in a different building, or a mild moderate need classroom is not the same as moderate intensive. And I do think a lot of people have that initial fear of maybe the kids look or sound so different and I'm scared and I don't know. But I promise people, I'm like, you, even our substitute teachers who spend just an hour with our students, I'm like, you will fall in love with the kids, the classroom, the families, and it's just so cool to see the progress that they make. And I would just say to reach out and start small, start with an observation and see if it's meant for you.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Brighter Together podcast. My name is Janet Courtney, and my special guest today is Megan Serso. Megan is the special education coordinator at Strongsville City Schools in Strongsville, Ohio. Megan, welcome to the podcast.
Hi, thank you so much for having me today.
I love your personality. You're so bubbly. I just love
Thank
it.
you.
Just love it. So tell us a little bit, Megan, about Strongsville City Schools and about your role there.
Sure. So my role is a special education coordinator. There are three of us in our department, and we work under the student services director. And we have a wide variety of schools. We have one preschool, 5 elementaries, one mega middle school, and then one high school. And I, over the years, have kind of shifted roles in the buildings. And I've been a principal, I've been a building leader, but really my passion is in special education, which really just I don't even see what I do as a job. I love what I do so much and I'm so passionate about it. And this past year, I really shifted to take more of the what we would call moderate to intensive track. So I have our students who have pretty much the highest level of programming from pre-K all the way up through 8th grade in the district.
Wow, that's a big job.
It
How
is.
many students do you have? Not just you, but like what's the population of the school?
It's around 5,600 for the district. Yeah. And then
Gotcha.
some of our buildings vary. Our preschool has about 250, and I'd say our elementaries range from 350 all the way up to 500. So some smaller schools and some bigger schools.
Right. So are you traveling between buildings then? So you're a little
Yes.
itinerant? Yeah.
Yes. Yep. I travel. It's okay. Virtual has been a lifesaver for meetings, but really, I'm more about FaceTime and just having those conversations with teachers and therapists and parents, face to face. So while it's freezing cold here in Ohio and snowing, I really don't mind because I'd rather be personally connected with the people I work with. So,
Nice. Very
yeah.
nice. Very nice. So so tell us about how you got into special education and like what does your job entail so people kind of have an idea.
Sure. So it all goes back to my mom, believe it or not. So when I was in elementary school, my mom signed me up to be a lunch buddy, which I didn't really know what that meant. But my mom was friends with the special education teacher. So it was sitting with kids with pretty intensive needs at lunch. And I do remember getting bit. That was one of my pivotal memories in the cafeteria. And I don't know why that just inspired me okay, wow, maybe this is really something that I want to do. So as I got older and understood it a little bit more, in middle school, I started volunteering in my study halls to go down to the special education classroom and help with cooking activities or just supporting kids in the building. And then high school, it moved more into Special Olympics and volunteering that way. And then again, when I went to college, it was pretty clear that I wanted to be in special education. Also, possibly music therapy. I started piano at a really young age, but it really, once I took that first special ed class, it was like, you know what, this is really what I was meant to do. So I did that at University of Dayton, got a master's degree in autism and intensive disabilities, and jumped right in. I jumped right into the field as a moderate to intensive teacher in a district in Upper Arlington near Columbus, Ohio.
Mm-hmm.
And then it just kind of led me down the path to where I am today. I'm really lucky that people saw me as a leader. I only taught for 7 years, even though this is my 20th year in education. So it's shocking to me that I spent more time out of the classroom than in. And while I do miss it, the good thing about my job is that I'm in classrooms every day. So I still get that face time with kids, which is super important to me.
Yeah, of course, of course. So University of Dayton, you're talking about Dayton, Ohio, right? That's
Yeah.
so funny because that's where two of my three children were born in Dayton, Ohio.
No way.
Yeah, yeah, we lived in after my husband and I got married, we moved to Ohio and we were in Cincinnati, and my daughter was born in Cincinnati, and then my two boys were born in Dayton. We lived in Dayton, Beaver Creek. We lived in Beaver Creek.
Nice. Yeah.
Yeah,
It's a
so
small world.
yeah, small world. Yeah, we were there
Yeah.
for several years, 6 8 years, something like that. And then we moved to Michigan and now we're in Texas. So,
Wow.
life
Yeah.
takes you. Life takes you where it
It
takes you.
sure does. It
Yeah.
sure does.
So, yeah. But my husband, even though we lived in Michigan for 19 years, is still even being in Texas, still an Ohio State Buckeye fan. That man is just
That's
he's
awesome.
yeah.
Good. Good for him.
Yeah. Yeah. He was sad about how this season ended compared to last season, but
We were
it
too,
happens.
but
Yeah.
it
It
happens. Yeah.
happens. It happens. Yeah. So what would you say? Well, if there's somebody that is interested in getting into special education, what kind of advice would you give them?
Oh my gosh, I'd say go for it and maybe reach out to somebody, reach out to a public school district and just say, "Hey, I'm really interested in this. Could I possibly come shadow?" Um just to see what it all entails because I feel like one special ed class in a building is not the same as one in a different building or a mild moderate need classroom is not the same as moderate intensive. And I do think a lot of people have that initial fear of maybe the kids look or sound so different and I'm scared and I don't know. But I
Yeah.
promise people, I'm like you, even our substitute teachers who spend just an hour with our students, I'm like, you will fall in love with the kids, the classroom, the families, and just it's just so cool to see the progress that they make. And I would just say to reach out and start small, start with an observation and see if it's, meant for you.
Yeah. So what would you say are the biggest strengths that Strongville brings to the picture?
So, something I think we are really great at is inclusive opportunities for our students with really intensive needs. It's something that is promoted all the way up with our superintendent. So, we know that kids with intensive needs, when they're in our public school system and as they go up and post secondary, those options to be included often become very limited. So, it's such a huge push for us in the elementary school to do it with purpose and to be meaningful and not just be a visitor in the classroom, if you want to say it that way. So
Yeah.
we really do try to plan intentionally for our kids to say, hey, you know what? They have a really high interest in science and they're doing these science activities. Could they join? And then what does that look like for them? So they're not just coming in and being there for it. It's like, how do we make meaningful participation at these ages so that our kids aren't only benefiting from that, but the kids in the gen ed classroom are benefiting too. It goes both ways. So
Yeah. Yeah. And
yeah.
I love that too because, and I've said this in the meeting before that there is sometimes kids don't understand and they only see the disability and you and I both know that the disability is just a part of that person. There's a person there and helping them to see the person and not just the disability is so critical. So,
Absolutely. And then you said you're an SLP, just seeing the wide range of communication abilities of
mm,
our kids and how excited our general education students are to see, like, oh my gosh, they talk with an iPad. Like, that is so
yeah.
cool, or they're requesting a snack or they're initiating a greeting with a friend. It's just really opened up a whole world of, possibilities for our students with intensive needs. So it's
Yeah.
really cool.
Are you struggling to keep speech therapy fully staffed or tired of high turnover? You're not alone. At Lighthouse Therapy, our speech language pathologists are seasoned professionals, and most of them have over 16 years of school based experience. They're not just qualified, they're consistent, relational, and results driven. We offer 3 flexible delivery models: virtual therapy, hybrid therapy, and in person therapy. It's speech therapy done right for you and your students. Learn more at lighthouse-therapy.com/brighter together. Really critical and great work, obviously. So what would you say is your biggest challenge?
Oh, biggest challenge I think would remain, other than staffing, which is for everybody, probably mindsets.
Mm,
This is the first year that we've expanded programming into an elementary school that didn't have our moderate to intensive population. And again, I think it goes back to fear. of
Mhm.
not really knowing, or feeling like maybe they don't have the training or the education or that they're going to do something wrong. So I do think mindset is it's a massive hurdle to get through, but if you can just start small again by showing the tiny little gains and positive things that all kids get out of inclusive opportunities, I think that's just best for everyone.
Yeah, yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
So what kinds of things are you doing to break down those barriers? What other than just barreling through, what kinds of things do you guys do?
So the one school that I'm in is Moraski Elementary School, and their first year having mod intensive in the building. We hired new teachers; they had some experience, but they're really doing some awesome opportunities where they're including general education students into what they're doing. So if their students were learning about a unit on bears, they had the whole school participating in a bulletin board where they were walking by their classrooms and rating it. They were making special snacks that everybody was coming in and then delivering to the general education classroom. So just creating educational opportunities where everybody's learning from each other, I think is probably one of the biggest benefits to starting that. Yeah.
Awesome. Awesome. And you've got a team that's doing it, so that's super helpful too. Now, do you guys as oops, sorry. I hit
Good.
my microphone.
That's okay.
I get to talking with my hands. For those of you that are listening, Janet talks with her hands a lot. So if I bump the microphone, it's because I'm talking with my hands. Sometimes I put them my thighs, trying to keep myself. Yeah, it's like she just lifted up her hand. She's got her hands clasped together, Megan. That's so great because you were probably the same way. Yeah. It's just when you have passion and when you love what you do, it just comes out in your whole body, and that's awesome.
Absolutely.
So, but I was trying to ask, like, so for people that are unfamiliar with a bigger district,
Mhm.
how does the whole hierarchy and like who does what? How do you guys decide that and break that down?
In terms of our special ed
Yeah,
programming.
and your programming and like do you said you answer to a director, I believe is
Mhm.
right? Is that right?
Yes.
So
Yeah.
how does that like how do you decide like okay, at the beginning of the year I'm going to only have these kids or I'm going to do these kids or you're going to go over here and do these kids? How do you logistically manage the number of kids? And it seems like in special education the number of kids with needs just keeps going up and up.
Yeah. Yeah, it does keep going up, and I think that's why districts, especially districts of our size, which I know we're small compared to some that are out where you are, really need to have a robust, multi-tiered systems of support to put in
Mhm.
place, the MTSS
Yeah.
structure, just to try to prevent students from becoming special education, but maybe try to slow that down and say, do these kids really have a disability that needs that? Or can we just give some interventions that might, in 6 to 8 weeks, the kids kind of over that hump and then they're ready to go back. But as far as how we parse that out, it has changed. Our team has been together, I think, 9 years now. So we have a director of student services, which is a pretty big department. So we're talking Medicaid, Title IX, nursing, transportation, staffing. It's pretty wide. And then, like I said, 3 coordinators. So we've kind of shifted over the years. At first, it was kind of an even division of buildings, just based on here's the number of kids, here's what you're going to have. And then I think as people got to know us and know our strengths and talents, and know that I was a former moderate to intensive teacher, for me, it's my passion and it's easy for me. And
Mhm.
it's kind of it's not easy, but I get it because I used to
Yeah,
do
yeah.
that. So
Yeah.
it's kinda like, "Hey, you're really good at that. Let's just have you do that." And
Mhm.
then one of our, coordinators, his background is a school psychologist, so then we use him a little bit more up at our high school and secondary, in that role, and then our other coordinators kind of share he shares the elementary schools with me, and then all 3 of us split our middle school because it's so big, there's about 1,400 kids there. Um, yeah, and then it kinda ebbs and flows, and like I said, we have such a great team. I can Last year, I was really overwhelmed with the workload that I had, and I reached out, and it's like, "Hey, you know what? I think I could pick this up. Okay, well, I could take this part. I could take Medicaid billing, that doesn't take very long, and again, it's just something that I'm familiar with." So, um, we work really well as a department, and there's lots of advocacy for us in our roles, which again is supported through
Nice.
our superintendent, which is great.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Knowing that you've got people that have your back and want what's best for you and for the kids,
Absolutely. It's
that's
a
a
great
winner right
place to
there.
be. It
Yeah.
is. Yeah.
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 Absolutely. Fantastic. So where would let me ask you one other question. So if you could, this I ask this question quite a bit, but I don't ask it every time. But if you could just fix one thing, like one thing in your world as a coordinator and never have to worry about it again, what would that one, and it can't be money. We all know that was everybody needs more money. Yeah. But schools they're all underfunded. We know they are. So, it's like that's sometimes it turns around, like people will say something else and it's like, well, that kind of it really goes back to money. But the question is about your heart. What is that one thing if you never had to deal with it again? What would that one thing be?
That's a big question. I think probably being able to educate every child in their home school. And I can go down a little path with that. So again, our services are sort of clustered in buildings, and it's very, very hard for me to tell a family that their child can't go to their neighborhood school because we don't have the services in that building. So
Ah,
we're
gotcha.
we're trying, we're expanding and trying to have them in more, again, not to bring up the funding, but some
Yeah.
of it does go back to that and staffing, but, that's hard for me to have to split siblings or a family's had, their kids at this school for so long, and then their younger sibling can't go to that school. Maybe it's not accessible or we just don't have the services there, and that's really hard for me, so,
Yeah.
yeah.
That's a good one. That's a really good one.
Yeah.
Okay. So where do people go to find out more about Strongville City School District?
Everything is on our website. If you Google Strongsville City Schools, our website's actually really great. They just overhauled it a year or two ago.
Oh, awesome.
And you can look there's different tabs that say our district, and then you can click down through the buildings and see how many students are there, what our special education supports look like in every building. It has a whole lot of resources there.
Awesome. And Strongsville, I was saying it wrong. I was saying Strongville and it's an S. So
Oh,
it's
yeah.
STRONGSVILLE. Strong's multiple.
Strongsville.
Strongsville
You got it.
City
Lots of
Schools.
S's.
Yeah. There you go. There you go. And not everybody's going to see this. A lot of people are listening to it. So I always want to make sure I am clear. It
Sure.
goes back to being the speech therapist, you want to be clear.
Yep. Yep.
So, well, Megan, it has been a pleasure to have you on the show. Thank you so much for your time and your passion. It's very clear that you love what you do. And we all know that when the kids are surrounded by people that love what they're doing, that ultimately the kids win. So keep up the good work. And if there's ever anything that we can do here, please let us know because we would love to help you guys. It's such a beautiful thing special education is, and it's my passion too. I've been an SLP for 31 years now, so thank you.
Great. Thank you so much.